Welcome to my sewing room. We have such an exciting show for you today. We're going to have a lot of fun. Now let me show you a couple of wonderful things. I bet some of you have never seen cross stitch done on a sewing machine. Easy and fun, and look at the little heirloom girl standing there with her little basket. Another wonderful idea for you is to make a memory case. This one has been embroidered. This one actually belongs to Patti Jo Larson's little girl, Joanna Larson. It has the date of her birthday, and it's open on the inside, and then there's a picture of Joanna. Got her upside down. Here's a picture of Joanna, and then her baptism certificate is in this wonderful little beautiful embroidered case. Now, Patti Jo has made another really nice case too. This one was out of scraps from her wedding dress. And in here, I bet you can guess what's in here. There's a picture of Patti Jo and Peter on their wedding day. And what a wonderful way to use the scraps from your wedding dress. By the way, Patti Jo did make her wedding dress. Another wonderful memento you can do with your sewing machine. And Patti Jo also made this to go on her daughter Joanna's wall. You know, you've talked a lot about the alphabet and ABC. Well, this is a very elegant ABC with all of the letters stitched right down in a beautiful beige, almost a monotone, with a little bit of peachy pink and green. You have a very elegant way of displaying the alphabets. For those of you that love to sew for little children, this is the sweetest collar, with the machine puffing and the wing needle entredot stitching. Absolutely beautiful. Now, how about some of you grandmothers out there? Do you ever carry your grandchildren in different stages with diapers and baby wipes like I do? Well, this is the ultimate grandmother bag right here with beautiful embroidery on it. Now, we have so many wonderful techniques to share with you today. Won't you come along with me over to the technique boards? French bias piping is the technique, and it is wonderful. This is the beautiful, delicate little piping that comes down the front of this wonderful ecru Nalona baby day gown with the beautiful machine embroidery. See how delicate that little blue piping? Let me turn it over and let you show you what the back looks like. All finished and all pretty. The piping also comes down around the bottom of this beautiful little scallop day gown. Now let me show you how easy this is to do. Take a piece of bias fabric, fold it, and then straight stitch, just basting stitch along the folded edge. Then I have my baby piping cord I'm going to pick up, put right in the middle, fold it over, let me kind of move my hands out of the way here, fold it over and stitch. Now, after I have folded and stitched, I come in and trim away the raw edges only. I can use the buttonhole foot, the double needle pin tuck foot, or the piping foot. Then after the piping is stitched and the raw edges are trimmed away, I come in, turn the curve, go all the way down the front of the day gown and down and around the scallops. Now, to let you really see how to do this, I'm going to introduce you to the lady who invented this technique, my very dear friend, Patti Jo Larson, who is an educator for the Husqvarna Viking Company. So glad to have you back on the show, Patti Jo.
Thank you, Martha.
Now show us this fabulous technique that the whole world loves.
You inspire me.
Thank you, Patti Jo.
We were teaching this when we were traveling together, and I just think it's a nice technique for finishing the neckline in not only baby things, but adults as well. In the baby clothes, I like the baby piping, the size. So I start with 1.5 inches bias strip. It's important that you use bias so that it will go around the curve. And once you've got your bias strip cut, a rotary cut, make a long enough strip for your entire project, and then just a real quick way to press this in half, or basically baste it in half. I do it at the sewing machine. Slip on your edge joining foot, which has a little guide in the center. That foot's designed for stitching along the edge of something or down the middle of something, and I just have a basting stitch, and I can quickly run along the folded edge and have this bias strip all ready. Now, what's slick about French bias piping is a couple of things. First of all, you are using a double layer of fabric to cover your cord. So now my strip is entirely basted in half, and then I will come in with my baby cord and like you did, place it in the middle of that folded strip or press strip, whichever you prefer to do. At this point, you will once again fold it over that cord. Now for this next step, I will use my buttonhole foot, which I really like because the tunnels in the bottom of the foot are just the right size for that baby cording. They were there for the buttonhole legs, but it also works very slick. So you'll look in your feet stash and find a foot that has the grooves tunneled out of the bottom. A piping foot has a nice groove, a pin tuck foot has grooves, and I prefer for baby piping to use my buttonhole foot. First, you'll place the cord right inside the middle of this folded strip that you've already basted, and then slip it under that foot. And it's so nice how that long toe just likes to guide itself right along that baby tiny cording. So you have this beautiful, real small. So look in your feet at home and see if you have a foot that has a little groove under the underside. It's so much easier than using your zipper foot or something else.
Did you move your needle position over any, or is it just right in the middle?
This one's right in the middle, but that's a very good question, Martha, because the next step when I sew this onto the garment, it's so nice if you just bump your needle position over, and then you'll be sure and cover the initial stitching. If you've never made piping before, it really is easy. You'll see. The piping is made. The basting thread can be removed along that fold. That was just to hold everything from slipping. And now the last step before you sew it into the garment is to go ahead and trim away that raw edge. There's 2 layers of raw edges and 1 layer of folded. And we want to trim away the 2 raw edges. And once you get in there and start trimming, the scissors work so slick because it helps guide from cutting the underneath. So trim it away so you have about 1/8 of an inch next to the stitching, and your folded edge extends beyond that. Now, the right side of your piping will be the edge where you don't see the 2 raw edges. Okay. So we're ready to place it onto the garment. It's beautiful around the neckline or around the arm's eye of a sleeveless gown. But on this day gown, we went ahead and put the piping not only around the neck, it's down the front and it's scalloping the hem.
I just
so
love it.
It's a wonderful finish.
I just love it.
When you're ready to sew it to your day gown, lift the facing, open that out. You would normally have already sewn your shoulder seam, set in your sleeve. It's about the last step after you've done your embellishing and some of your decorative stitching. Now when you're laying this piping onto the day gown, remember that you see the pretty side of the piping, the folded side up, and you place it where you're lining up the folded edge with the raw edge of your neckline. This is a 1/4 inch seam, and here, this is where you might want to just bump your needle position over so that you'll be sure and cover that initial stitching.
And you're not pinning at all.
Oh, it's so slick, you don't need pins. The foot just guides you. When you do come to your outside corner, there's one tip I like to give is do a tiny stitch at an angle, and then with your little stick here, you'll want to push back a little extra piping. You want a little extra right there at the corner. And I'll be stitching it right down the center front.
Lace too, Patti Jo.
You
just
need
a
that
little
extra.
And then that is absolutely fabulous.
The inside curves, you don't need extra. We'll go around the corner. Again, just if you have your needle position to stop down, you'll have that automatic pivot, and then you'll just go ahead and scalp. I used a iron-on stabilizer template that you can see through the fabric there as a guide, or you can mark your scalp.
Absolutely fabulous. Patti Jo, thank you so much for sharing the famous Patti Jo Larson French bias piping technique. And now we have some wonderful techniques sewing for baby.
Another little trick I'd like to share with all of you is how I use the French bias piping at the sleeve hem of this long sleeve on the baby day gown. You'll notice there's a little stretch, a little give to this piping, and it ends up gathering the sleeve just a little bit. What I simply did was, in place of the baby cord, use a round elastic that has a lot of stretch. Now when you're working with it, just use it flat, place it inside your piping, inside your bias strip, stitch it just like regular piping, but the final step after you've sewn it into your sleeve is you would secure one end real well to hold that end so that you can pull up the other side and have just the right amount of gathers. Finished on the inside. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh,
Wouldn't that be great for diaper pants?
You know what? I think everyone will love that technique.
Elasticized piping.
Elasticized piping.
And now, to finish the day gown, I'd like to share with you the easiest scallop technique that you can do without pins. And I'll show
Without pins.
Pinless
Okay.
scallops. The first thing I like to do on the fabric is to mark it, and I use a tearaway stabilizer. Just cut my scallops and iron it on the wrong side, and you can typically see through it and just follow that edge as you're marking.
And that also acts as your stabilizer.
And it stabilizes so you can work with your fabric, shape your lace directly to the garment. And I am using my 1/4-inch piecing foot, which is a little bit narrower than a standard foot, and it allows me to ride just on the edge of my lace.
No
pins. No pins.
It's like, look, Ma, no hands.
I know. Just sew it. Now, when you get to the point, this is where you'll want to flip-flop your lace so you end up with a soft pivot at the top, a soft miter. It's 1 stitch to hold the flip, and then you travel on around, just holding the edge of your lace with a stick. And so your needle, it's like getting about 20 pins per inch when you're just doing a normal straight stitch.
It is so fast.
It gives you such accuracy. I think you'll enjoy the pinless lace shaping.
I also like your flip-flop at the top,
Isn't
Patti
that
Jo.
nice for a soft
You could do a
curve?
miter, but I bet this is easier.
This is very easy. It allows you to do a nice running stitch for your decorative feather stitch at the end.
And then you're going to pull your thread, make the little curves go away, and it's all finished. Oh, Patti Jo, that is absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for being here to share your wonderful techniques, as always.
You're welcome.
And next, I would like to share a quilt square with you. Our quilt square for today is once again a beautiful lace-shaped heart. The background is pink Nylona, this wonderful French lace ecru heart. I've already shown you in several other shows how to shape that. What I want to emphasize today is how do you take ribbon and lace and ribbon and lace and get this beautiful piece inserted behind the heart. First of all, you shape your heart and pin it down, spray starch it and press it, pull the strings, make it lay down, chop off the tails. Then, the next step is to zigzag or wing needle entredot or pin stitch all the way around the outside. If I'm going to insert something behind this heart, I have to then go in here and cut it away. Now let me turn it over to the back to show you what really happened there. You cut the inside of the heart away, then I have an open heart. In order to get that wonderful piece of ribbon and lace to insert behind it, I have to put row after row after row, butt them together, and zigzag them. Now, some people think it's hard to butt lace and ribbon together and zigzag them, and I guess if your machine's tension is not perfect, you would need to put a washaway stabilizer behind it, but the machine I'm using has perfect tension, so all I do is use my edge joining foot and zigzag and zigzag and zigzag, and my lace and my ribbon are joined together perfectly. Then I come back over here, I put piece, I will go ahead and finish my final piece. Then this is how you get that beautiful diagonal work in behind the heart. Simply take my piece of ribbon and lace that I have butted together and zigzagged, slip it in, turn it diagonally, and once again I will go to the sewing machine, put it underneath, and I will zigzag or wing needle entredot to attach this piece to the heart, and then I will go in behind, of course, and after I've done my zigzagging, I will go in behind and I will trim away. And that's absolutely all there is to putting this piece in behind a lace heart. Not only a lace heart, but you can insert anything behind any lace shape if you simply go in there and trim away the inside. See how easy that is? And now my lace heart has been inserted. A very easy technique on a very beautiful pillow square. And now I have some clever notions for you.
In putting together a handbag, I've decided that I like to have form and shape at the top. rather than having a soft bag that just drapes too much. So what I've started doing is using a frame to stabilize that upper portion of the bag, and this holds the form in the top. This particular pattern was made more sporty, and it has a zipper outside pocket and straps. However, I wanted to use the same bag and frame to create a different look. So what I've done is use the exact same pattern, eliminate the pocket and the straps, and put it on a smaller size frame. And we've gathered the casing onto the frame, which gives us an entirely different look.
I'm so happy to have as my guest today my daughter, Joanna Pullen Hammett, who loves Sew Cool for kids. Joanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I think you have chosen a fabulous project for today. It's so much fun to think about the mothers and the grandmothers out there watching that are hopefully going to teach their children, grandchildren, Girl Scouts, Sunday school class how to sew, because sewing is fun and it's so cool. This particular project that Joanna has chosen is 2 beach towels. It's been sewn together on the shoulders, leaving a hole for the head, sewn together on the sides. It makes a great outfit to wear over your swimsuit, or I would say for little kids, when they get out of the bathtub, you could slip one of these on. Most importantly, it's fun to sew and it's easy to sew, and this is a really great project. Joanna, I'm going to let you show them how to make
Okay,
this.
thank you. First, you put your 2 towels right sides together. Next, you need to measure 8 inches from each side and pin, so measure and pin. Next, you just simply place it under the machine and take your pin out, of course, and just do a simple straight stitch. We are making the neck opening right now.
It's two heavy rows of terracotta.
It is. It's kind of hard.
And hard to sew, isn't it?
And then you cut it, and you do the same on the other side. Next, you have to open up the seam, fold it back, and sew about 1/2 inch from the seam line.
A little bit
As
of
you
top
see,
stitching there,
top
huh?
stitch, and you need to do it all the way down. So you see I've got it all the way through the neckline.
around the neckline,
And
too.
this makes the actual neck that you see.
The shoulder seams are now finished when you do both sides.
That's right.
Okay, shoulder seams, neck hole, finished. Okay.
Next, you measure down 13 inches and you mark it. Then you measure down an additional 10 inches right here. Then you simply place it on the machine like so. Get it straight and straight stitch.
And now your side seams are going to be complete.
Now your side seams are going to
And
be
Joanna,
complete.
what I love so much about this project, it's really easy to do. Run to the discount store, buy 2 towels. This
towels.
one has little fish.
That's right.
And that makes your child happy. It's very easy. You only have your side seams to sew and your shoulder seams to sew. Just fold your neckline edge down, and you have a project that you and your children can really enjoy sewing. Now, Joanna, I know when we talked about our school in Huntsville, about the kids' school, we decided to let the child be at least entering the 3rd grade before coming. But Joanna, I was talking with Patti Jo Larson earlier, and her 3-year-old daughter Joanna actually does some sewing projects now. Of course, she stays right there with her, but she said that Joanna is really doing a lot of sewing, and she's only 3.
Oh, wow.
So maybe you can start Cecil on
know.
sewing. Maybe you can start Cecil at 3.
Depends on the personality of the child.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for
you.
sharing your Sew Cool for kids. And now won't you come along with me to my attic? I have the most interesting story to tell you today. Joe and I were recently on a wonderful trip to London and Paris. Actually, we're going to start taking ladies and a few men, if they want to go, on needlework, antique, flea tours of Paris and London. And Joe and I were over, and we had a wonderful time just exploring and making decisions about what we're going to do. For the very first time, we bought tickets in the Waterloo train station in London, and 3 hours later, we got off the train at the Nord station in Paris. It was such an exciting trip. Now, the Paris flea market is probably my favorite place in the world to search for antique clothes. That is where I bought this beautiful christening ensemble I'm going to share with you today. Let's start with the bonnet, which is so pretty. This particular christening ensemble, the cape and the dress and the bonnet, is made out of a silk batiste. Can you see this really pretty lined, the ties that are tied under the chin? Let me turn it sideways to show you this beautiful bonnet. Now, this embroidery is all by hand. It starts at the center and goes down both sides on the little folded back brim of the bonnet. Then it has a very interesting shape in the back. There is a center panel which goes down to join to the side panel. And of course, there's one on this side too to join to right over here. It simply is hemmed along the bottom. And then let me turn it around and show you the other side. It has that same beautiful embroidery on this side, all done by hand, and a wonderful big perky bow tied under the baby's chin. The details are absolutely wonderful. Since we've been doing piping on this show, I think you'll be very interested in seeing the details on this dress. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of bias tubing, which have been joined with hand faggoting. Now, it would look like this dress is smocked, but it really isn't. It's just sheared. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of shearing, and very interesting sleeves. The little rows of bias tubing are put together with hand faggoting. Coming on down the skirt, there is a magnificent, just a beautiful spray of hand embroidery, ecru on ecru, coming all the way down, and the beautiful bow at the bottom with more ecru leaves. And then the hem is put in with a hand hem stitch, a double hem. Absolutely magnificent. I think you will like the christening cape as well. Once again, the shearing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of shearing and a little bow that ties the christening cape. Beautiful, beautiful embroidery. I can just think about the mother or the grandmother who did all of this hand embroidery with the great expectation of a new baby coming in the family. This is the way the little cape ends. Now I have something special to show you. This little cape is so easy. It's just a little gathered top, and it's simply sewn onto a high yoke dress with the little sleeves, but you see there's nothing in the world but a high yoke dress underneath this cape. And I think the detail is really interesting. There's hem stitching that comes all the way down to the bottom of the little christening cape, and then the hem is simply put in. There is no embellishment at all on the under part of what I call the dress. All of the embellishment is on the little cape that is sheared. Now, for those of you that love smocking, I think you would really love to smock. Wouldn't that be beautiful, smocked in an ecru silk thread? Just have little rows of simple cable or one-step waves or two-step waves sewn around there. Let me just turn this little cape around and show you the back. Underneath this simple little straight piece which has been smocked, you can see it is simply a little high yoke. It's a little high yoke dress that's been made into a coat. Very, very easy to do, and that's one of the easiest christening capes that I have ever seen. I told Joe not too long ago that he got an A+ for the rest of his life for having dragged through flea markets and musty places literally all over the world, helping me find these beautiful, beautiful clothes, which I love to share with you here in our attic. Thank you so much for joining us today in my sewing room. I've had so much fun sharing these techniques with you along with Patti Jo and Joanna. I hope you have enjoyed them as much as we've enjoyed bringing them to you. And I would like to invite you to join us again next time.